trees there are just spectacular in beauty. There's so many large, beautiful trees.
They're at the very foundation of the park, the larger existing trees. There's pecan trees, there are cedar elms as well as American elms, all of which are common and native to the area.
Imagine a great forest and a meadow.
As you move back into the open areas, the meadows, you find some very large bur oaks that I feel have to be over 100 years old.
Picture rocky bluffs and cliffs, a stream.
The park was originally purchased in 1915 by the city of Dallas. Now, I can only imagine what it looked like, but it had to be magnificent.
I view it as a crown jewel of the city. It's one of the most beautiful parks in any major city in America.
And today, in Dallas, Reverchon Park is still defined by oaks, ledges, and hills.
It is a lovely park. If you actually take a few minutes to walk through it, I think you'd be quite surprised to see how large it is, how beautiful it is, how many different areas there are in the park to enjoy.
We've gone through a long history of the park, and I think that if people were to get out and use the park, they would see that it's a beautiful facility and it can be even better.
What would our public areas look like if every part of the public sector owned a little bit of it and said, that's mine, I'm going to take care of it and I'm going to make it right? Think about what the city would look like if everybody did that.
As citizens of Dallas are trying to beautify our city the best that we can to become even more of a world-class city, then Reverchon Park could be a big part of that.
Long ago, the Dallas Park Board purchased 36 acres of land. Originally known as Turtle Creek Park, it was soon renamed after Julien Reverchon, a French botanist. Reverchon sailed to Texas in 1856 with his father to settle at La Reunion on the banks of the Trinity River.
Julien Reverchon was one of the earliest botanists to our area that collected over 20,000 species of plants, which is very unique for his time. He also found at least 4 species that had never been recognized before, and as a result, those species were named after him. One of those species is called a Reverchon hawthorn. So a number of years ago, I took the time and the effort to find a Reverchon hawthorn, which is a very attractive plant that blooms in the spring, and planted it next to the playground equipment as my own way to honor Julien Reverchon.
Located in Oak Lawn, next to the Katy Trail, the main entrance to the park remains at Maple and Turtle Creek Boulevard. Reverchon was designed to be a grand park at the end of the long green beltway following Turtle Creek. Inspired by the vision of city and park planners at the time, the area was conceived much the same as Central Park in New York City, and was to include the 4 natural elements of meadow, mountain, forest, and stream. In addition to its beauty, the park is an historic place to visit.
There are many other areas of the park that we intend to promote in order to increase the awareness and the importance of it to the history of the city of Dallas.
The current plans right now are to renovate a lot of the original stonework that was done in the park during the WPA days, or the Works Progress Administration days.
Back in the 1930s, the Conservation Corps came in and did an enormous amount of work, stonework, beautification work, putting in some beautiful bridges, and that's been done back in the 30s, and we're in the process of upgrading some of the work that they did.
Craftsmen employed by the Works Progress Administration, a relief agency created during the Great Depression, built stone walkways, an iris garden, and picnic areas with stone tables.
And that was some beautiful work, but over time, ground shifts, tree roots grow, and the stonework had deteriorated. That work needs to be updated, redone. It's cracked, it's shifted, it's not safe in a couple of areas.
The renovations will include the stonework being refinished and restored, and in doing so we'll probably have to remove some of the plant material around those areas, and we may still have to remove more plant material in order to restore some of the very scenic views of the park.
Starting lineups for the Waxahachie team. Number 5, Boomer Collins.
In 1919, they built the ballpark, and the ballpark is perhaps, to this day, the main thing that people recognize and associate with the park.
$3
a go. There you go. Thank you, sir.
Number 8, Theodoro Mendoza.
Reverchon's baseball field is among the most beloved in Dallas. The relationship began early with the addition of a grandstand. Then, in 1940, lights were installed for night games.
It has been one of the longest continually used baseball parks in the U.S. and one of the last remaining ball fields of that era of the early 20th century.
The diamond is currently in use every day during baseball season by the Dallas schools, collegiate teams, and city leagues.
It is home to the Dallas Independent School District. It's their home field. It's where they play their playoff games. It was home field to SMU when they were building a baseball field. Apparently it has a wonderful pitcher's mound, so it's highly desirable.
Many famous players have graced the field, and in 1953, the Cleveland Indians and New York Giants played an exhibition game. New collegiate-level ball field lights were recently installed, but the old-time grandstand needs refurbishment, and a new restroom, concession stand, and parking areas are a high priority.
And that's just the beginning. The park is really a lot more than people believe it is. There are a number of ideas that we're gathering from the local residents, and as people use the park, then we will take their ideas into account to make the park even better. And we're just in the early stages of doing all of that.
In the last 10 years, we've been able to attract the public back to the park, but more importantly, the kids are coming back to play baseball, and there's a lot of activities, fun runs, and other things that are going on in the park.
Yes, there's been an enormous amount accomplished. The park has come a long way in the last 10 years. We have a long way to go, and it's time for the local citizens of Dallas to get more involved in helping to make the park better.
I became involved with Reverchon Park because I live in the neighborhood and I'm in the park a lot, and I wanted to make sure that it was a beautiful, safe place. 10 years ago, when I moved to Dallas, I was told not to go to Reverchon. It was dangerous, it was horrible, just drive by it, don't even look.
There was crime of all sorts, things that just weren't good to have at a public park.
The park was so overgrown, it was full of overgrown tunnels, places where people were living, using drugs, doing all sorts of unsavory things.
In 1998, work was just beginning on the Katy Trail, adjacent to Reverchon. At the same time, the park's neighbor, Texas Scottish Rite Hospital for Children, enlisted help from the city and the community to clean up their backyard.
And I realized what a beautiful area that was next door, and it was needing some extra help, some tender loving care.
I'd welcome everybody to this year's cleanup, and thank you for taking your Saturday time to be here with us. Clearly, giving back to the community is something that's a priority for you. That means a lot to me.
So in the 1990s, we enlisted the help of our neighbors, our friends, the park department, the police department, and we started a series of cleanups.
The cleanup started by simply trying to raise the canopy. Cleaning up the canopy was a big help because now, as I said earlier, you can see in the park, you can see what's going on and see what a beautiful park it is.
We started by just picking up trash and such as that on the first year.
That first year, we hauled out over 40 tons of trash and debris.
Then the second year, we started trying to get some of the undergrowth and overgrown trees and dead trees out of there.
This effort evolved into what is now an annual event, the Reverchon Roundup.
It's a perfect place to bring your family, to come and picnic, to have fun. And then this special day that we come and clean up our area because it is our park, it is in our city. And I encourage, the area children to take part in this effort because it is our park. We must maintain it to make sure it's greener and it's prettier and that it is here for the future.
Most people are not aware that at one time, Texas Scottish Rite Hospital had the opportunity to relocate near Southwestern Medical School. Our Board of Trustees chose not to relocate, largely because of the hospital's beautiful location next door to Reverchon Park.
Team D from Plains Capital Bank.
Recently, more than 400 volunteers turned out on a Saturday morning to clear limbs, rake leaves, plant beds, and gather trash.
Reverchon Park has a number of amenities that the public can use. First, the Katy Trail borders the southeastern edge of the park. The Thompson Overlook, which was privately funded with $1.5 million, was just recently opened.
It's a beautiful structure. It allows people that are walking along the Katy Trail to step off of the trail for a few minutes, have some water, relax. You can see the entire park from the overlook. We have ramp access, which means that people of all abilities can access the trail from the park, and you can get to the overlook through the park. There's also a seating area in the park, but the overlook has enhanced both the Katy Trail and Reverchon Park.
Texas Scottish Rite Hospital for Children has also joined with the city and the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons to design a one-of-a-kind, safe, universally accessible playground at the park. More than 400 volunteers came together to complete the playground in just one day.
We've got a great park here. This park is going to be even better. One of the things we're going to be doing is raising private funding to make this park even better, but we're going to do more than that. We're going to make it so that you want to come to this park more.
Drawing on this momentum, a group of concerned citizens soon established the Friends of Reverchon Park.
The specific mission of Friends of Reverchon Park is to realize the development and restoration plan for the park, preserving our beautiful outdoor spots in the city of Dallas, maintaining our parks for community use, and seeing that they're maintained and that they can be enjoyed by future generations.
The plan calls for $15 million in improvements to the park, with only $3.5 million available from city bond funds. When fully implemented, the WPA stonework will be restored, the ball field updated, and the recreation center expanded and improved, while still maintaining the historic feel of Reverchon. Reverchon is cleaner, safer, and much improved during the last decade. Families and special events have returned, but there is still work to be done.
Now that you've had a glimpse of Reverchon Park, we hope that you feel inspired to join us and help us restore and develop this somewhat hidden oasis in the midst of our city. You've seen its natural beauty, some recent enhancements, along with some areas in need of improvement. And those areas would continue over to include the Gill Well, where we would redesign and reopen that as a drinking fountain, and the lookout point, which is directly above the recreation center, which also has stonework, picnic tables, and a wishing well. But also, if there's an area of the park that you're particularly interested in, we would love to have you come and help us work specifically on that area.
Join us in our efforts to restore, preserve, and protect the crown jewel of our city for today and future generations of Dallas citizens.